And welcome back. It is Sunday sit-down time. With us now is Andy Humphrey from KTGR, hosts a big show Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And you're going to have a lot to talk about tomorrow, as we are right now, as we're just kind of, both of us trying to figure out, the Chiefs losing in the AFC Championship game. Of course, they lost the first time when Patrick Mahomes, in his first time in the AFC title game to the Patriots, and then winning 2 straight. I feel like we've just gotten used to them winning so much. It's just hard to fathom that they actually lost this game to the Bengals. Got to give, I guess, Cincinnati credit.
Well, and I think you mentioned it. They lost this thing to the Bengals. I mean, yes, give Cincinnati credit, but with the way that the Chiefs were kind of going through that game and just not being able to sustain the offense throughout the second half, I mean, almost the exact same script from the Week 17 game. I mean, that's what we heard about all week long between the Bengals and Chiefs, how Kansas City had a really nice start in the first half and then just took their foot off the gas and let the Bengals back in it. Look, credit to Cincinnati. They had to make the plays. They had to make sure that they were in that position to come from behind. But I think this is more about the Chiefs just kind of letting up and again, just not being able to finish the job against this team.
I guess, how do you explain, Mahomes was so good in that first half. 3 touchdown drives, and then, that last drive before halftime, of course, Andy Reid elects to go for it, and perhaps those 3 points obviously would have meant a lot. But then after halftime, it was like watching a different Patrick Mahomes. He didn't seem confident. He wasn't hitting his receivers. It just, how do you explain the from the MVP? This is a big stage.
Pretty hard to explain. I mean, and it's hard to fathom sometimes. We've seen it a few times before, though, where he's looked very good, and then maybe a play or two just kind of fulcrums his performance the other way. So, I mean, this is something to figure out. This is part of the Patrick Mahomes that we saw maybe in the middle portion of this season, where he just couldn't find the right kind of throws for whatever reason. It is a bit of an issue, but again, you know that it's Patrick Mahomes. You know that he has the talent. It's not going to be those types of performances most times. That's why it's so hard to explain, is just, you never know when it's going to happen.
Well, it seems to me that the AFC is now just going to be wide open every single year. The Chiefs were kind of on that pedestal a little bit, I thought, at least, in the AFC. But now you got Joe Burrow, you got Josh Allen. I mean, still got Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. I mean, the list goes on to these really young quarterbacks that are. Is this going to be pretty much up for grabs every year now? It seems.
I mean, it very well could be. We're so used to seeing in the AFC guys like Brady or Peyton Manning or even Ben Roethlisberger dominating that type of conference, and we don't anymore. I mean, Mahomes can be there more often than not. He can be in a position like in the AFC Championship game or even in the Super Bowl most times to be able to bring the Chiefs further than they would without him. But again, it just goes to show that sometimes in the NFL you get bested on a few of your days, and credit to Joe Burrow, and look, you're right. Guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson make this, and Justin Herbert you could throw into that conversation as well. It makes this a little bit more of a competitive conference and not one that's dominated by Brady or Manning or everybody else like that.
Well, the offseason, I guess, is officially here now for the Chiefs. So this offseason, if you're Kansas City, what needs to change? Does anything need to change for next season to get back to the Super Bowl, which next year, Super Bowl's on Fox 22 KQFX, so that'll be big.
There you go. You got to make sure you get the plug in there, folks. I mean, anytime, even if you win the Super Bowl, I would advocate for any team to look for ways to improve their roster in some way. I mean, the way that the Chiefs' defense really came on strong in the second half, you really feel good about that. You could probably bolster a few pieces in the secondary, maybe help out the defensive line a little bit. But I think the main question is, what's the wide receiver situation going to look like? I think the Chiefs showed more often than not this year that maybe they could benefit from another guy behind Tyreek Hill in the wide receiver depth chart. I thought for a second that maybe Byron Pringle would improve and kind of solve that question internally for the Chiefs, at least temporarily, but it seems now that you're still going to want to try and find some of those weapons. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be an interesting way that they approach it.
Andy Humphrey from KTGR, we appreciate you taking the time.
As always. Thanks so much, man.
All right, we'll be right back after this.